Joining me now is Congressman Elijah Cummings. Congressman, welcome to the show.
It's good to be with you.
My friend, you're in Congress. The president has bent over backwards to be bipartisan. So tell us what the real lesson here is of these Republicans who fail to not only be bipartisan, but to do anything that would help the nation get on a more healthy and, if you will, progressive path.
Well, I think you stated it very clearly a little bit earlier. Keep in mind, we have now had some 45 votes, and those votes were to destroy the Affordable Care Act. They have pushed for defunding it, and they have pushed for delaying it, but all of it is about trying to kill it. And it's so interesting, Reverend Dyson, that suddenly we have all these naysayers saying, oh, we're in trouble. We cannot get this done. I'm so afraid. We've got to throw it out. That is not the America that I grew up in. It's simply not. We are a can-do nation. And so we have some glitches. We'll work those out. But the president's absolutely right. This is far, far more than the website. I've got people in my district. I have a reverend in my district that I talked to a few minutes ago whose son had a life-threatening disease. And he was able to keep his son on his insurance policy. He's 24 years old. Keep him on the insurance policy. Was able to get his son the care that he needed. If he had not been able to do that, he would have been bankrupt. No doubt about it. And we're seeing more and more women, 47 million of them, who got preventative services without having to pay extra at the doctor's office. And we're finally getting away from that time when simply being a woman was a pre-existing condition. Those are the kinds of things. And one of the things that is very interesting, too, Reverend Dyson, is that we hear our friends down in Texas rail against the Affordable Care Act, and some of us have got to stand up for that 1 in every 4 Texas residents who don't have health care. Somebody's got to stand up for them, right. And I plan to do that.
Well, let me ask you this question. How in the world can you work with Republicans who've allowed a small faction of their party to hijack them? Because in some ways, I felt that John Boehner was like, he'd been taken hostage himself and forced to go against his best interests in the name of a similar kind of political unity. How do you actually work with Republicans who permitted this kind of thing to happen?
It's very, very difficult, and it's also very difficult for the president. When the president tries to make a deal or work out something with Boehner, Speaker Boehner, he realizes that there's no way that that is going to necessarily go forward, because as soon as he gets back to his 40 or 45 Tea Party folks in the party, then they say no. As a matter of fact, what we have seen over and over and over again is a party of no policy. You don't have to worry. If you ask them for the policy, there is no policy except the word no. That is not the way we operate or should be operating on Capitol Hill. We have 435 folks coming from districts, diverse districts all over the country. Reverend Dyson, there must be compromise. There must be a way to get some kind of resolution. And so they have spent all of this time, 16 days, shutting down the government. So, and putting people out of their jobs, and denying services. Why? Because they're trying to deny others, by the way, their constituents, health care. Health care must be, it's got to be, it's not some privilege for a few, it should be a right for all.
Well, what is it about Congressman Boehner, the Speaker of the House, that he's incapable of doing what the president has done several times to the chagrin of his supporters? That is, being able to challenge his own base to say, look, I agree with you on most of this stuff, but on some things I disagree with you, and I'm willing to challenge you. Why isn't Boehner able to challenge his own base for the interests of the broader public?
We can only guess that Speaker Boehner was worried about not being able to get the speakership, that he would be denied the votes by his own party to get the speakership. But there's another element here, too, Reverend Dyson, and that is that a lot of the Tea Party folks have presented a situation where all those other Republicans who, by the way, have remained silent, and I think that's sad, too, but a lot of them have remained silent. Why? Because they are afraid of somebody coming from the right in a primary running against them. Right. And I talked to them, and they tell me this. They said, well, you know, Cummings, I think the Affordable Care Act is not that bad, but I'm worried about people coming at me from the right. Well, they've got to put that aside. We are here to speak for the American people, not just the people in the Tea Party district, not just the people in Baltimore, but the entire country. And this is something we have now opened the door. It's been a very difficult battle, but we have opened the door whereby people can now get affordable, accessible health care, and we've got to make sure that works. The failure is simply not an option.
Well, look, I can only imagine if the shoe were on the other foot. Had the Republicans won a great victory, they would have cowed over the Democrats, and they would have made it plain, look, these people are not really ultimate patriots in the sense that they're willing to defer their own interests in recognition of the broader populace here. So the inability of the Republican Party to see that true patriotism is saying, I'm not going to wreck the train of American democracy because I can't get water on my particular car. How do we make that message? Do you think Democrats are loath to really exploit the advantage they've now wrested from the Republicans?
I think that Democrats have got to call the Republicans out. And it's not just the Tea Party folks, by the way. I don't think the other Republicans who went along with this, keep in mind 144 in total, voted against opening the government back up and voted to threaten and to destroy basically our economy. So I blame them too. So some kind of way we have got to, the Democrats have got to make it clear. We got to call all of them out. And we've got to say, look, this is not about one district. This is about our entire country. Every 2 years, Reverend Dyson, we put our hand up to uphold the Constitution of the United States of America. The Affordable Care Act is a law that has been passed and affirmed by the Supreme Court. That's part of what we're supposed to do.
Right.
And now we've got to push that and push it as hard as we possibly can. No apologies.
All right. Unapologetically. Congressman Elijah Cummings.
Unapologetically.
Thank you, my friend, for your time tonight.